I had done something that, in the eyes of the people that had us captive, didn't
Mm-hmm.
approve of, and they said I had really did it that time, and I um it's like the stupidest thing. Like I forgot to. I kept forgetting to. I kept forgetting to, like. I, I kept forgetting to, like, put the clothes from the washer into the dryer, and I probably hadn't eaten in days.
Okay.
It was a really bad situation, and they 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 ended up me me making me take this knife,
Okay.
and they kind of forced me to start stabbing Hudson with it. Like, their hands were around my hands,
Mm-hmm.
and they were kind of jamming my hands, and I can still hear her screaming.
Yeah.
And then I had to help them to, to take her and to dump 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 her in the woods, but her body was still warm and breathing,
Mm.
and I um I would see her a lot after that, and I, like, it, she would just start appearing and kind of telling me what to do.
Okay.
But this one particular day just seemed so fucking vivid. Like, I could actually feel her fucking touch, and it's like she was right fucking there. Usually, it always just seemed like as if she was a ghost, or just like this fragment of my imagination. But on that particular day, she
Yeah.
was right fucking there. But then, as soon as I did what she had told me to do, and I'm looking around for her, she was no longer there.
Okay. Would you say this is the first time that, I mean, with obviously things that happened, would you say that this is the first time that you experience almost that lack of control and her take over,
Um,
so to speak?
so I used to kind of disassociate, but it was like in this way of I was still present,
Yeah.
I would just like kind of be talking to myself in my diary, and it's like I would kind of respond as her to myself.
Okay.
Um and then when my husband had died,
Yeah.
I um I fought real I did everything to prevent myself going into the dark because I can't go into I can't go in. Once I'm there, I'm there, and it takes a lot to get me out. And
Okay.
so I don't know when everything happened with Max.
Okay. Did Hudson appear to you during your relationship with your ex-husband?
Oh, she it was more so of this when my so
It's
with my
okay. Take your time.
husband, it was I had to sell the houses, I had to sell the cars, I had because I would I I I had to accept that he was dead because if I didn't accept that he was dead, then I was going to see him and smell him and think that he was there even though he
Okay.
wasn't there.
Yeah, I
And
get you.
so I did everything that I had to do to prevent that because that's what's best. But Hudson didn't appear, I don't believe, for that.
Okay. I was going to say, because I can imagine that was quite a traumatic time for you
Yeah.
as well. From what I've gathered from mine and Hudson's conversation, she wants to protect you, and she comes out when you feel like you're really struggling, when you're going undergoing a lot of stress,
Yeah.
which I can understand. I mean, considering what you've gone through and what you're going through now, can is very traumatic. I mean, with the Max thing,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's as traumatic as like what happened to Hudson and yourself.
Yeah.
I do have to ask, do you blame yourself for what happened to Hudson?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I should have I don't know what I could have done, but I'm sure there's something that I could have done too. I don't know.
Okay. Well, to be honest, my assumption from what you had told me is
Mhm.
that you're a young girl, you both were.
Mhm.
You were stuck in a situation that you could not escape from,
Yeah.
essentially. And the knife was forced into your hands. And even though you did not want to do it, I can
Just
imagine it could have happened to you. They could have done it to you, but they're the ones who forced your hand.
I just can't help but think like if I could have just twisted the knife a certain way and stabbed him instead of
Were you thinking this at the moment, or were you thinking this afterwards? Because,
after.
yeah,
Yeah.
hindsight's a bitch.
Yeah.
That's all I can say, because
Yeah.
you will always, anyone who has dealt with similar circumstances where they feel forced, they will blame themselves, and that's a part of the grief. And it's completely understandable that you feel that way, but I mean, I personally think that you're not to blame for that situation. Y- You were held against your will. You were forced into a situation which you had no control of at the time. And that's not your fault.
Yeah.
But I believe, well, I will ask this. When Hudson was alive,
Hmm.
what was she like to you? What did she represent to you, do you think?
She was my best friend. Um, I was to her, I was everything good, and to me, she was everything good. But she always seen herself as the dark, and she seen me as the light.
Yeah. Why is that, would you say?
Um, she felt as if she put me in a lot of positions to protect her.
Okay.
But I see it opposite. I feel as if I got her hurt more than-
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, speaking
yeah,
to her, quote unquote,
yeah,
I believe that, you know, she wants to protect you, and that could be a manifestation of, safety because, like you
yeah,
said, she was she was looking out for her as much as you were looking out for her.
yeah.
Okay. I mean, this is going to take some time.
Yeah.
I don't know whether Hudson has appeared since I
I
last
don't
spoke to her.
I don't think she has. I feel like I've been very present.
Yeah,
Trying to stay present. I'm just trying to figure out my triggers, and I feel like in order to find out your triggers, you have to go through things, and then
that's true, but you don't want to force
yeah,
yourself into situations which could lead to such distress.
yeah,
I mean, from the sounds of things, if that's the case, the issue with Max, you've wanted to protect yourself, and
feel
that's where I feel
very,
like Hudson has appeared.
and then I started to really feel like I still don't necessarily feel like 100% because that was a lot better. Like
Yeah,
I don't. You won. You. Uh, she just made jokes about like she gave the guy a camera and said, "Oh, this could be useful," and it's like you're bringing up stuff that I don't necessarily even remember, and that people have
hmm
had to tell me about.
yeah.
And
I can
then
imagine that's
Max
quite distressing
just
itself.
stood there. He just stood there, and but then again, what does he do if that's the new love of his life or whatever?
Yeah. F- Max.
Yeah.
I mean, are you wanting to keep a friendship there, or are you wanting to be with him romantically?
I'm not gonna lie. I seen we were together this morning. Like it's like this thing of like I guess I feel vengeful and I want to be the villain for once.
Okay.
And it's like here you supposedly love your girlfriend, but then you meet up with me knowing that I'm gonna fucking kiss you. So
So sounds like he's putting you in a position where he's allowing for that to happen.
Yeah. And then he says it's complicated and nothing's set in stone, and I'm just like, and then he told me that if I was this Winnie, like when we were together, then he would have never have left. What, the Winnie that isn't nice? The Winnie that, like,
So how were you in the relationship with him if he says that, this Winnie now is essentially different to the Winnie that he was with?
I guess because maybe I'm more demanding. Like before, I guess I was more of just trying to do everything to make him happy. He said that I don't bring up the past. But I don't really recall bringing up the past too much. I recall like talking about things that have hurt me and things that have like, but it was never necessarily like this. Uh, I don't know.
I mean, to be quite honest, you're a person with a past. You've had life experiences. Some things obviously you may not bring up, which is completely fair
Yeah,
enough. But I mean, you had a husband at one point. You're
and
allowed to express things about that.
it,
It's not as if. Sorry, I don't mean
I
to
don't
keep.
know. No, you're fine. It's like this thing of he just acts like I was comparing him to them, or I was. It was just me expressing like thoughts and feelings because, like, as my partner, you should want to know about the hurt that I've been through, I guess. But
Makes sense.
I don't know. Maybe not.
I mean, I can understand like with a relationship, obviously, it's a blank slate. You make it what you will. But even so, people still have pasts. And by expressing yourself, you're giving him everything in a sense
Yeah.
because you're letting him know you completely. But if he chooses not to want to hear that, is he really giving the time to get to know you for who you are?
No, because all he's worried about is chasing his dreams and not like acknowledging that what him and Val did
Hmm.
is wrong. Like, oh, it happened after we broke up. It happened immediately, probably like immediately after we broke up. Like, how do you justify that and being okay, especially when she was supposed to be my best fucking friend too? We were a
Yeah,
trio.
I mean, to be quite honest, it sounds like there was no consideration for you as a person. And people like that, do you believe that people who don't consider you, who don't respect you in a sense, because that doesn't seem very respectful of you. Do they really deserve to have you?
No.
Okay.
He should be lucky to have me. Like, like, and I seen him with Valerie, and he just seemed so fucking miserable. And I,
Well, I mean, that sounds like the choice that he made.
yeah,
Whether there be regrets there or not, he made a choice, and the consequences of that, whether he's miserable or not, that's on him. Because it sounds like he considering things, how you proposed to him.
yeah,
You wanted to be with him, but he ran away from that.
yeah. He always seems to be running away.
Well, that sounds like he has his own problems to deal with. But unfortunately, it's bringing you and it's bringing Val into it. Whether Val, whether she made that decision as well. I mean,
Yeah.
they're both in the wrong considering that you two were friends beforehand.
And I think that's what hurts the most because it's like, as a decent human being,
Mm-hmm.
I could never willingly just if it was her, if her and let's say her and Max were together.
Yeah.
I had never done anything with Max and nothing had ever happened, like whatever. But
Yeah.
as soon as they were to break up, I could never look at Max and be like, holy fuck, I'm madly in love with you and let me be with you. And because
Yeah.
I would feel like a shit person to do that to my friend who had confided in me.
Yeah. It sounds like, to be quite honest, it sounds like they overstepped boundaries there, boundaries that shouldn't have been put in place, especially as it happened so soon after. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. What does Hudson think of this? What would you say she would think of this?
Um, she would probably want to stab them. Like, I don't think she would actually stab them, but just that expression, like you hurt the person that is supposed to mean the fucking most to you, and you don't like watching them go through that.
Yeah. And I feel as she is essentially a part of you now, that might be the side of you that wants that to happen. I'm glad it hasn't happened because
Yeah, no, I definitely wouldn't ever. It was a poor expression.
it's fine. I mean, I can understand, especially when tensions are high, you've been hurt, and she and yourself want to protect you. What would you feel about putting boundaries in? Like, I mean, unfortunately, situations that happened, especially when
Yeah.
with that thing that happened earlier at the post office.
Yeah, well, I ended up sending him um, mail saying that I hope he has a nice life with his bitch
Okay.
of a girlfriend.
Did you use those words?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep, I did. Because you gotta call it like you see it, and just. It
Yeah.
was disgusting, like, how she was acting towards me.
Yeah, I mean, I can completely understand that. You know, tensions were high, you were hurt at this. So, I mean, you just have to be careful that you don't antagonize it further.
Yeah.
But I do think that some boundaries need to be put in for your sake.
Yeah.
What if you were to put in some boundaries, what boundaries would you put in regarding this?
I'm not exactly sure. Like,
Do you want to keep seeing them both?
Valerie? Fuck no. She can fuck right off. She can kick rocks. She can eat acid. Sorry,
Okay.
that's probably very,
No, that's fine. You're entitled to it. I mean,
My
we're out in the middle of
hatred
nowhere.
for her right now is just. If a semi truck were to be driving down the highway and hit her, I would smile, which is
You are
scary.
you are allowed to feel that way right now. I mean, I'm pretty sure at a later date you probably wouldn't feel that way.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see about it, but right now it's definitely a happy thought.
I get you. Okay. What about Max? Do you still want to see him?
It's complicated. Like, I still, like, despite everything, see him as, like, the love of my life, and that makes me feel like a fucking idiot. And just.
Well, I mean, you you got to a point where you wanted to propose to him, so I
Yeah.
can imagine those feelings aren't dying anytime soon.
No. Maybe one day.
Maybe, but I feel if you're constantly exposed to him,
Yeah.
it's gonna go one of two ways. First of all, I can imagine you want to maintain some form of friendship with him, or
So, um, when was it? Friday? Was it Friday or Today is Monday, right?
correct?
So, Saturday. I was minding my own business, riding on my skateboard. Max comes up with his motorcycle behind me, and he was telling me about how he was going to be playing for fight night. And
Oh yeah,
yeah, he wanted me to be there. And he wanted to be friends, and I was like, you can't expect me to like want to be there. You can't expect me to like, I'm so hurt. And I was like, you can't have the best of both fucking worlds. Like,
very true.
and I, 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 I don't remember if I probably kissed him because I tend to just do that. And it's like, the thing he doesn't understand is like he wants to be my friend, but even when he was my best friend, he
Hmm.
was never really my best friend because we would kiss.
Okay.
So you want to be my best friend, then okay. Like, I just and he was like, you can't do that, but he was like stuttering when he said it.
Hmm.
And it's like one of those things of like, you're telling me no, but the way you're acting is completely fucking opposite.
Yeah.
And I ended up like riding off on my skateboard though, because he had at one point told me that he needed me to hate him, and just because he was like, I worry about you, like I stayed worried about you, and I. But then, if that's the case, like, why do you continuously just fucking hurt me? And he's like, oh, it's like this thing of somehow it's fucking complicated. I don't fucking know. And then I met with him today,
Hmm.
and because I had to tell him some things like that I wasn't too proud of. So I guess Max Dillon and Taxi Cab Killing Spree have some sort of fucking beef going on right now. I don't know. I was
Yeah.
up in Vespucci, and I guess this was after the fight stuff happened Saturday.
Yeah.
And Taxi Cab Killing Spree, they said that they were making a song about cheating and they wanted me to do the intro. So I went and
Okay.
yeah, and I don't know exactly what it's gonna say, but I'm for sure positive it's at some point going to have "fuck you, Max" and "fuck you, Valerie" on there, which is
Oh, okay. That might lead to a few implications of
spicy.
itself.
Yep. So I told Max about. So I wanted to finally, because I part of me does feel bad, like it was impulsive. I
Hmm.
Maybe I shouldn't have done it, but well, but like at the same time,
Do you want to move to this one over here?
yeah, we can.
Oh, but
There we go. But at the same time, it's like you said you wanted me to hate you and you wanted me to like, so I'm doing my best. But then I
I
felt
see.
bad, I regretted it, and I
Uh
wanted to
huh.
tell him about it before he had to hear a possible song. Because I don't know, maybe they decide not to do the fucking song or have it in there. Like, you don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what it, like, no telling. But, and he's like, don't ruin my music. And I'm just, it's not me trying to ruin your music. Like, is me being fucking hurt by everything. And
Yeah.
no. Like, he was
I
sitting in a
mean,
fucking chair with me, like, cause I had asked him if he would hold me while I told him everything that was going on. He was like, yeah, and
yeah.
then afterwards, I get it. He was upset because it is a shitty thing to do, but it's like, okay, and he just tells me things are a lot more complicated than what they are, and like, I don't know, he said something like, even though he loves Valerie, like, if he were to leave Valerie, something bad would happen.
Okay. Did he expand on that?
I don't know. He said if he were to ever get with me, like, again, that, like, I would be risking his life. I think something like that. Or that's how it seemed, at least.
Okay.
And
Do you have any idea why?
no.
Hmm. When you tell me how you came to Los Santos, I know you. I know you mentioned stuff happened in the woods, but you also mentioned about the hotel room.
The hotel room.
I believe there was a gun involved.
Oh, Seth.
Seth, that's the gentleman.
Oh, Seth. Yeah, so Seth was trying to attack me,
Yeah.
or he was going to try to attack me, and Seth always had a gun. He always kept it on him, but this time he had let the gun down and he was turned around, and Hudson like came out of the closet that nobody ever
Okay.
used. It was weird. I was hallucinating her, I suppose, like obviously, like she told me to grab it, and
Yeah.
she kept like, and he's kind of freaking out, like like he, it was weird. He was kind of freaking the fuck out. I ain't gonna,
Yeah.
and so as he's freaking out and he's struggling, like I went and I did what Hudson told me to do, and I got the gun, and then he seen me and he was going to um he started fighting me,
Yeah.
and it was this thing of, you better fucking do it, because if you don't, it's gonna be you. And he's also in the process of like yelling, like, what are you doing? He wasn't looking at me when he was saying it. He was like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, it was very
Okay.
weird, and I had my opportunity. I shot him. He ended up being on top of me, and I was covered in blood. And
Mm-hmm.
then Hudson was gone. And
Okay.
then the cops ended up showing up.
Are you aware that is he definitely deceased?
He's definitely deceased. He's definitely
Okay.
deceased. I had confirmation that he was deceased, and I don't know. I spoke about Hudson, and they never found her remains, which I know I gave them the exact fucking location of the remains because I remembered it vividly, but
Yeah.
it's also the middle of the woods, the coyotes, the bear, like whatever, could have drug them off, but that's always kind of been upsetting because she's just out there lost.
Yeah. Okay. And there's what with your previous relationship, your husband,
Mm-hmm.
was there anything that risked your relationship with him?
Um, he left for 2 weeks to go out west because he wanted to be a cowboy.
Okay.
Um, and when he left, I went into this state of thinking that he was there.
Mm-hmm.
I would see him. I would talk to him. I smelt him. To me he was definitely there, and people started actually like letting me think that he was there, kind of like it was this, because if they were to tell me otherwise I would freak out,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess they weren't trying to trigger anything. And then when he came back,
Yeah.
I I had finally convinced, like I was finally like in this state of, okay, he's not here. He's
Mm-hmm.
gone. He left. Like I was finally accepting that and coming to terms with that. And he 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 had to convince me for the next like
The next what, sorry?
and then 2 months had went by since he had been home and he'd been back. Everything was fine and settled and good, and then he was murdered.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Did do you know how it happened or
Oh,
who done it?
yes.
Uh,
So Jason, God rest his soul.
Ja-
Um, he he used to be part of a biker club called the Minotaurs.
Okay.
When I had met him, um, we were when I had met him, I was just like, I wasn't looking for anything. I didn't want anything. I was good in that department. Like, just everyone leave me the fuck alone. But
Mm-hmm.
there, Jason walks in, and he had asked me if he could be my security sometime to go get
Yeah.
coffee, and I'm like, I don't need any security. And I'm not a big fan of the coffee shops. I prefer to make it myself. But I gave him my number.
Yeah.
I had planned on ignoring him, but the next thing I know is we were in this van and I kept making jokes that it smelt like dead bodies because it's just one of those vans that it looks like people use to murder people, but wasn't.
I get you.
It was just, his drug dealing van. And we ended up going to Mount Chiliad.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. It was a nice time. Later on that night, we were kind of stealing money from the parking meters. I, I'm a little ashamed now, but at the time it was very fun.
Yeah, yeah.
And we started getting into this deep thing of, I was like, yep, I'm good with dating. I'm not going to do it because I only seem to attract men who either have drug issues
Mm-hmm.
or they are emotionally unavailable, and I can't do either of that anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm good on I'm good on dating. I don't want it. And the next thing I hear is this man popping pills, and I'm like, oh, this is great, because then I feel like I have to fucking save him, because but I didn't have to fucking save him.
Okay.
He um I thought he was gonna murder me, if I'm being completely honest, because I went into like this what was it that has traumatized you in your life that you feel the need to do the drugs kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I started trying to get deep into that, and then the next following day we were hanging out, and he was like, well, no, before that, I need to backtrack a little bit. We went
Yeah,
into the
that's
whole
okay.
therapy thing, and he was like, I can quit anytime I want to. And I'm like,
Mm.
that's what they all say. That's what they all say. And then the next following day, he he had made it a point to inform me that he had only taken a couple pills that day. And then
Okay.
the next following day, he had taken nothing. And then he just quit. And
Oh, that's good.
I eventually had found out that he had quit because he said that I deserved everything good in the world. And if he wanted this opportunity to be in my life, then he needed to turn his shit around.
Yeah.
He ended up leaving the motorcycle club,
Mm-hmm.
which, when he was in the motorcycle club, he was the executioner. Like, his job was to hunt people.
Okay.
Um, so he left that. He left that life behind. Um, but almost, 6 months had, 6, 7, almost a year had went by.
Yeah.
And his father, who was the vice president of the club that he was in,
Mm-hmm.
he had called Jason because he needed a job done. So
Okay.
I wasn't awake for that. I was in bed sleeping. His father told him, do what you have to do to get Connor O'Leary. So Jason does what Jason needs to do to get Connor O'Leary. Well,
Okay.
from my understanding, when he had brought Connor O'Leary to his father was very disappointed in the way that Jason went about it, and he basically disowned Jason. And he basically, instead of doing what he was supposed to do to Connor O'Leary, he just talked with Connor O'Leary. The next following day, I wake up, I find out everything.
Yep.
My husband's like, I think I no longer want him in my life. Like, he set me up in this thing. I end up getting fired from my job over it. It was a really shitty and scummy thing that his father had done. Granted, Jason could have said no, but it's also one of those
Yep.
things of, that's his father. Like,
Yeah, I get
and his
that.
father was like, do what you have to do. And um he did what he had to do, and then he gets punished for it, kind of. And so then Jason gets caught up in. He ends up with a warrant out for his arrest. So we were kind of on the run
Yeah.
during this whole thing, and then um uh O'Leary started sending Jason mail
Okay.
talking about me, asking Jason what coffin he wanted to see me in when I die. Telling Jason that I like describing to Jason like making Jason think that he was watching me.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way you could get to Jason is by threatening me in any kind of way. Like
Yeah.
Jason, the only fucking thing in this world he cared about was me. And so so I I tried to stop Jason. He wouldn't listen to me because Jason's gonna do what Jason has to do, and Jason wanted that man's blood on his hands. But
Yeah.
the next thing I know is I was in the hospital in the morgue, and I was laying on his body, and his throat had been slit open, and his fingers had been
Take your time.
his fingers had been chopped up, and his body was just kind of mangled. And
I'm sorry to hear that.
I kind of just laid on his body for the next 2 hours, begging him to wake up. And then
You
I noticed like the next following day that I was in our house, and I was trying to talk to him, and I couldn't let myself
yeah.
slip like that. So I
Well, I'm assuming it was this O'Leary fellow who did this.
yeah, he murdered Jason.
I'm so sorry that you had to experience that. Has he been in contact with you by any chance?
Who, Jason or
No,
O'Leary?
O'Leary.
When he was charged for Jason's murder, I went and I visited him in jail just because I wanted to look him in the eye, and he tried to convince me that what he did to Jason was self-defense.
That sort
Even
of
though
no.
Jason was like the one being provoked.
Okay.
O'Leary's just kind of manipulative like that, though.
Mm-hmm. Is he out of prison? Are you aware of, or is he still in
Yeah,
prison?
he's out of prison, and life moved on, and everybody has basically forgotten that Jason is dead, and it's old news, and
Mm.
O'Leary is just out and about living his best life.
Does he live around here, or
No, he lives back home.
okay? I was gonna say because my concern, the only thing I could think of is someone from your past probably threatening Max, but if O'Leary isn't here, then I don't know where he's getting the idea of threats from.
Probably has to do something with Valerie because I mean, if unless if I misunderstood him, but he said that if he were to leave Valerie, he's like, if I were to leave Valerie, which I don't because I love her, then I'm putting my life at risk. And if I were to leave Valerie and be with you, then
Hmm.
I can't do that. Like, I can't be with you because something bad would happen.
Okay.
But then
Well,
he's telling me that nothing's ever set in stone. And
it sounds like he's kind of giving you mixed messages. I've
part of me
especially as
is worried
sorry.
because what if he's being threatened somehow? And it's like, why would the only thing that makes sense is like it has something to do with Valerie? Because
Well, okay. Um, in regards to him at this moment in time, without
yeah,
sounding so, this sounds more like a problem for him to deal with rather
yeah,
than you. And he can say this stuff to you, which will just I can imagine it's messing with your head,
yeah,
and it's not the stuff that you need right now. And he says he wants you to hate him,
yeah,
but to me, that's almost as if he's like, okay, well, I don't have to feel guilty if she hates me.
maybe,
S- So I personally would recommend maybe setting a boundary and setting some distance between you and Max,
yeah,
because I mean, Valerie's gonna be there. Valerie's a constant, especially if he says that he loves her,
yeah,
and that you don't need to be, almost like a third wheel to that. You
yeah.
don't you don't
Well,
deserve
she's never
to.
been around the last two times that we've hung out. She hasn't been around. She doesn't know. She might be suspicious, but she doesn't know.
So in essentially, he's going behind her back to see you, possibly.
Yeah, definitely.
And I can see that this.
And to me, it doesn't bug me because why should I be bothered and but like I would never do that to anybody, right? Not in a million fucking years, but it's kind of like this
Mhm.
thing of you were supposed to be my best friend and what goes around comes around.
That's very true. Almost like karmic justice. But that being said, who is she? Who is she going to attack verbally? Is she gonna be jealous and attack you, or is she gonna?
Probably, but
Yeah. And I feel that if you continue to be in that situation, it's gonna be aimed at you, not at him. When really, he seems the one to, because he's the one who bringing two negatives together,
yeah,
and that him, but I don't think he would admit responsibility to that.
yeah,
So the only thing I could propose is maybe just setting in a boundary for a little while,
yeah,
just to protect yourself.
absolutely.
But I mean, looking at things, I mean, it hasn't gotten to a point that Hudson has appeared.
No,
But if she does, I'm pretty sure if she remembers me, then she can always come and have a chat with me,
yeah.
just like you can. Um, but yeah, we've gone over quite a bit of stuff today.
Yes, we have indeed.
I do appreciate you taking the time and talking to me about things. I
Yeah,
know
I needed it.
initially, well, I'm not gonna make any judgment,
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, you're a person who needed assistance, and even though it may have started off as someone said a mean thing, we're trying to establish some kind of safety for both yourself
yeah,
and Hudson in any sense. Do you want me to do you want me just to, instead of talking as if you're two separate entities, just keep you as just to say Winnie? I don't
I
want you feeling
no, it doesn't. I maybe
I just want you to feel comfortable.
I don't mind it. Because it is what it is, but I definitely feel like I need to figure out all of my triggers for Hudson.
For sure.
But it is what it is at that. Like, I'm not gonna like sit there and I can't. I don't have any. Well, I guess I have some form of like it's hard, right? Like it is what it is. Like I am essentially myself, and I'm essentially Hudson.
Mm,
So I'm two different people, and sometimes, like right now, I guess maybe with how I've been acting, maybe I feel like a combination of both, but I'm definitely Winnie right now. I just feel like I
okay.
have more of Hudson's attitude,
Okay, well,
perhaps.
when I think of the two of you as separate entities, you're both a reflection of different personalities.
Yes.
And I feel like Hudson appears when you are feeling at your when you're feeling incredibly vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I feel, I mean, from what I'm gathering, there's a sort of, if you wanted to put a name to it, it's dissociative identity disorder,
Yeah.
or, multiple personality disorder.
Yeah.
It's not something that we can personally help with. This has to be
Yeah.
out of state help.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
that's not to say that I can't be here to listen to you and to offer advice.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I do believe that the possibility of accepting Hudson
Hmm.
and maybe taking on her traits, perhaps we can almost merge those personalities together to
Yeah.
get that person to be the person that you are, because you are Winnie.
Hmm.
I understand that the traumatic events that have happened in your life, especially in regards to the person that you were so close to,
Yeah.
your sister, and that's almost formed a defensive mechanism for you to protect yourself,
Yeah.
and you associate that with the person who meant the most to you.
Yeah. Definitely.
But we can definitely work on figuring out those triggers.
Hmm.
I feel like a trigger might possibly be, Max and Valerie.
Yeah.
But what I would probably recommend is, if you got yourself a little journal
Okay.
whenever you were feeling like, I mean, maybe leave a note on the front page for
Yeah.
Hudson if she does appear, and just be like, when you're about, just please write in here, you know, and then
Okay.
maybe we can see what is causing these triggers.
Okay. I like that idea a lot.
Because I know you mentioned about the diary where you had the conversation with
Yeah.
her. Do you have a do you still have that diary about?
Oh. I would have to really dig for it in my apartment.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if you can, and if you can find it, if you don't mind me having a
Yeah.
look, just to see if I can possibly see any triggering aspects myself.
Okay. I
That
will definitely like dig for it when I go
hmm
and lay down and have nothing to do. Like I'll dig for it for sure and
of course,
bring it up.
in your own time, of course. I'm not.
Yeah.
There's no rush. I just want to be able to see if I can find anything that could help you.
Definitely.
How are you feeling at the moment?
I'm calm. I'm
Good.
still nervous, but I'm calm. Like I'm not panicking anymore. That's for a certainty.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Um, what do you like to do? What hobbies? I mean, is there anything that you can distract
Um,
yourself from
I
whilst?
I love the beach. I love the ocean. One nice
Yeah.
thing I get, like, I morphed into Hudson, and I got all these like mermaid tattoos. That's nice. And I think I have this like sad boy tattoo, I guess, like this like little sad thing, and I think that's to represent Hudson. But the
Okay.
mermaid and the ocean stuff definitely represents me. The ocean has always been a great escape. I sometimes, I guess, I view myself as a hurricane, and
Mm-hmm.
I I feel like it would be like nice to maybe be a mermaid.
Yes,
Yeah.
I when I spoke to Hudson, she did mention that when she
Yeah.
comes along, you go into the ocean. You are essentially sorry about this. I need to stretch my legs. You are essentially like a mermaid.
Yeah.
I feel like that is also almost like a metaphor for your subconsciousness.
Yeah.
So perhaps when it can represent the disassociative state.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Um.
apparently I'm good. But yep. Um, what I would probably recommend for now is maybe take some time for yourself, go to the sea,
Yes.
stay safe, of course, when you're swimming, if you decide
Yes.
to swim,
I have a
and
scuba
just
tank, so
nice.
yeah.
Just take your time, just go and submerge yourself, staying safe, and
Yes.
have some time for yourself because with the issue with Max and Val, I feel like if you actively seek this, this is going to lead to very stressful situations that you don't
Yeah.
need right now. So, if I was you, personally, I would try and put a boundary in to be like, okay, I'm not gonna, even if it's just for today, see how you feel.
Yeah.
I'm not. If Valerie talks to me, I'm not gonna respond. I'm just gonna walk away because those people who like to be really mean, who like to be
Yeah.
heard, you take away their fuel for the fire, they ain't got nothing.
Absolutely. And I like when she was sitting there saying all that stuff, I didn't like really say anything. Like I
Mm,
couldn't even really speak. I just kind of tried to haha, you're funny, like,
yeah.
but
I wouldn't even give her that dead silence, just deadpan silence, and
yeah.
she's got nothing to go on then. In regards to Max, I feel like sticking in a boundary for him would be
Yeah.
good. I understand that
Yeah.
you would probably want to be friends with him,
I don't
but
know
if it's
anymore.
no, okay,
Yeah, I don't
okay.
know anymore. I it's
If he comes to you,
yeah.
maybe express, just be like, all right, Max, I know you've got your own, things are complicated for you, but I don't want to be brought down. You know,
Yeah.
I'd respect it if you take that stuff elsewhere for now because I need to focus on myself. And I think that might need to be the case. And if
Yeah.
he chooses to continue to push and push or continue to follow you and try and make a scene, then he is showing you that he has no
Yeah.
respect for you because he's not respecting your boundaries.
Yeah. And honestly, if I'm being honest, like the past two times that he's met me, it's been because I've asked him to meet me.
Okay.
So, but he doesn't, and he hasn't said no. So
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, we have a guest.
I,
oh,
Hi, Alex. Why did I
oh,
say Alex? Alexander.
sorry, sorry. I saw a car and I was wondering who it was because I
oh,
had a supposed to have a session, so I was wondering if that might have been. I didn't think it could have been your car.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, no problem at all. Yeah, no, they didn't show up anyway, so I just want to come up and see if there was someone up here. Someone just left their car, but no, I'll leave you to have your talk. Sorry about that.
Okay, that's
okay.
okay. Take it. Dr. Alexander there. He's a good doctor.
Yeah, he seems like a good doctor.
I don't know why I called him Alex. It's just it's probably the surname. But yes. Um, yes. If you can put in a boundary for yourself as well, in a sense,
Yeah.
to I know, you
Yeah.
know, with the feelings that you have, it's going to be very difficult. But if you try not to actively seek him out for the moment, then maybe
Yeah.
things will be able to, maybe things will start to settle in terms of this feeling of love for him, knowing
Yeah.
that, you know, he says he's in love with someone else. And if he says it's complicated, well, then that's a him
Yeah.
making it complicated in that respect. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about,
I
or are you
think I'm
wanting to?
okay. I think I'm good. If I need anything, I know where to find everybody. I know Whitley and Dr. Gilbert said that if I ever just need to vent and talk, I can find them
Yeah, yeah.
too, which is nice. I have a really great support system.
You don't want to be stuck on your own whilst you're experiencing all this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm either at the hospital, but if I'm not at the
Okay.
hospital, do you see this gas station down here?
Yeah.
I've recently purchased that, so I've got